Howdy again, gang. For those of you that were in my live stream earlier to premiere, it just doesn't matter because me and Candace couldn't do the Friday Foolish today due to her having a previous things that she had to take care of. Um, I want to say thank you to those of you that attended that. Hopefully, more people will get to watch it on the replay. I know it's kind of iffy on Fridays whether people will get to get to join in because they are earlier in the day. I did push this one to 2 p.m. instead of 1 p.m. Um, However, you can probably see that I changed my shirt because I got a new shirt in. I'm going to show a few things or a couple of things that I got from Vinegar Syndrome this afternoon. But just so you guys can see the shirt there, I just thought this was cool. A little film reel with blood dripping off of it. And then I don't know if I can, well, I don't know. It does have vinegar syndrome here. There we go. Vinegar syndrome there at the bottom. And some people might say, well, why the heck are you buying a t shirt from Vinegar Syndrome and giving them all that money? Well, I've been wanting to buy a Vinegar Syndrome shirt for a little bit because I think some of their designs are pretty cool. So I did get that. Um, and I got a couple of movies, and Steve's probably going to kill me dead. Well, not literally, because he's going to say, why on earth did you buy that and, a different one of that? Well, I'm going to talk about that here in a second. But the first one I got was, I was really surprised to be getting this quickly because usually pre orders from Vinegar Syndrome and Severin, maybe they're stepping up their game. I don't know, but I got this really quickly. And I was thinking I was going to have to wait on it. So good job, Vinegar Syndrome. And I'm not being sarcastic in any way. It's just usually when I buy these things on pre order through a sale, um, it takes forever and a day to get it. And I know they're busy. I know they're busy, and I know Severin's busy and stuff like that. And I'm not going to, talk badly about them because both of the companies put out fantastic product. I ain't even going to lie about that. And I'm a big supporter of both of those companies, as well as Screen Factory and some of the other companies out there, or boutique labels, as many people refer to them as. Sorry, that's my that's my reminder on my device back there. If you can, not let it bother you, it'll be a second time. Here's your reminder. Feed Toby. I'll just let it go ahead and finish what it was going to do, and then I'll get back into this. But anyway, this is Blood Cult. This is touted as the first movie made for the home video market that might just scare you to death. Okay. And I remember the first time I watched this, I was like, that beginning scene, yeah, it's a little cheesy, bad acting. You know, Clearly it's shot on video. You guys know the game there. But the thing that I think sets Blood Cult apart from the standard run of the mill shot on video slasher in this case is that they kicked this one off with a bang, in my opinion. I think Christopher Lewis, the director, was doing the right thing when he just knocked this one out of the park by having a very tense scene at the beginning. And the scene's pretty brutal. Yeah, the special effects might be a little subpar. But keep in mind, this was very low budget, shot on video. They did the best they could with what they had. And I think they really, really did a good job with this one. Blood Cult, I hold up there in high regard, just like I do Blood Lake for different reasons, of course. But Blood Cult is one of the better shot on video slashers that came out. And It wasn't the first, but it's one of the best in my opinion. This came out in 1985. It's just shy of 90 minutes, and it's about a blood cult. And here is the other cover art that a lot of you might be more familiar with than this new cover art, right? Um, so there's a small Midwestern college campus, right? And the co-eds are being hacked to pieces in a rash of gruesome slayings dubbed the sorority house murders. And in each case, a body part's removed from the victim, and a golden amulet bearing a dog's head is left on the body. So that's your basic story of blood cult. I mean, this is not what I'm going to be talking about for Terror Time Tea, which, if I didn't mention this is a new edition of Terror Time Tea. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about the plot of Blood Cult. Um, would I recommend it? Yes, I would, but I would not recommend you going out and spending your hard-earned money on it without watching a for free version first. And you may be able to find it for free on places like YouTube or Tubi or something like that. I would try that first before I actually bought the Blu-ray version. And I'll have to get back to you guys and gals on how that looks, if it looks pretty decent in or on Blu-ray. The next one is the one I said Steve's going to kill me dead, but not really. Is Drop Dead Fred. And the reason why I bought yet another copy of Drop Dead Fred is because I'm sorry, guys and gals, I got a couple of orders coming. I'm trying to keep track and make sure they're able to find everything. I'm trying to see what okay. So 16 items are still trying to find. Okay. All right. So sorry about that. Um, But the reason why I bought yet another copy of Drop Dead Fred so soon after I bought a cheaper version is because this has more to it. It does not have the slip cover on it, though. I believe I got the standard edition, whereas you can see this one has the slip cover on it, right? Okay. And what the slip cover looked like basically was it had this image here that has the drop dead Fred in green and the little girl using the chalk to write drop dead Fred. And you can see that there. If I had gotten the slip cover, that's what you would have seen. So anyway, that's three things I got in, including this t-shirt from Vinegar Syndrome. And before I get to the movies for Terror Time Tea, I wanted to tell you guys and gals the type of tea that I'm drinking today. Because I've been having trouble with sinuses and allergies, I thought, well, why don't I just use a tea that's going to help with that on Terror Time Tea? So, sorry for the glare, folks. This is Sleepy Time Sinus Soother, and it does indeed help because I have used it before, or drank it before. In fact, I'm drinking a little more right there. So, if you haven't read which movies I'm going to be talking about today, we're going to be talking about Reanimator and the Toolbox murders. Oops, I didn't cover that up. Hope that doesn't get me in trouble. And hopefully, I'm going to have to start writing them down or going through all my Terror Time teas to make sure I don't repeat on any of these. Because some people might say, well, Dana, you already talked about that 6 months ago or something. Some people are good about that. They can, recall what I've covered even better than I can. So we're going to get started with Reanimator, and keep in mind I'm going to be doing the Deadites rating scale on both of these as well. What is Reanimator about? Well, Reanimator is the story of the dead being reanimated, the coming back to life. But They come back to life all wrong, right? They become very aggressive. They attack people, um, and all of that. So, and why does this happen? Because Herbert West, played by Jeffrey Combs in this film, injects the dead bodies with a reagent fluid that is fluorescent green. It seems to glow in the dark and all of that. This is listed as one of the most wildly popular horror films of all time. It's directed by Stuart Gordon and loosely based on an H.P. Lovecraft story. So we have Dan Kane, played by Bruce Abbott, who needs a roommate to help him, pay the rent on his apartment. So he finds, Herbert West, played by Jeffrey Combs, um, and Herbert West is a little eccentric, maybe a little more than eccentric. But West's theory is that he can reanimate the dead, preventing death from ever happening. But every time he uses his reagent serum, something goes wrong. Sometimes nothing happens, but he enlists Dan to help him with his theory of conquering brain death, right? So Dan finds out about this in a very unorthodox and kind of depressing way because Rufus, his cat, um, Rufus always seems like an odd name for a cat anyway. It obviously sounds like a dog's name, but if somebody wants to name their cat Rufus, it's, that's fine. But Dan comes home with his girlfriend, played by Barbara Crampton, and she discovers in the basement, she opens up the refrigerator and finds a dead Rufus in there. And she's all upset, and she thinks that Herbert has killed Rufus, right? And she hates Herbert West, and she thinks he's killed the cat, and she wants Dan to get rid of him, and all of that. So sometime later, Dan hears this horrendous squall coming from the basement, and he goes down there, and Herbert is fighting with something. And it turns out to be Rufus. He's reanimated Rufus with the reagent serum, right? And there's one of these lines that I always remember. There's a lot of lines from Reanimator I remember, but you know they they make sure that you know Rufus is dispatched, and Dan's like, what in the hell is going on here? And they have broken the undead Rufus's back in the struggle. And Herbert goes and injects Rufus a second time. And, basically he says, if he has a broken back, um, he's not going to be too lively. But the cat kind of lifts its head and it's just like that. Um, I know I don't do a very good job of that, but I try my best. But anyway, the line that I'm talking about is uh, Dan says something to the effect of like, "You killed him," or "He was dead," and Herbert says twice. And it's just so. I mean, it's so fiendishly lovely. Is the best way I can describe it. But I think Herbert West has all the best lines in here. Go Jeffrey Combs. You know, but like I said, this is loosely based on H.P. Lovecraft's classic terror tale, Herbert West Reanimator. Um, it does feature a very standout performance from Jeffrey Combs as they say on the back of the box. Um, Deliciously deranged West. Um, Reanimator, I would agree with this, remains a definitive example of 80s splatter mayhem and, and one of the horror genre's finest hours. I would agree with all that. I remember this was one that my family rented back in the video rental days. I know you guys and gals hear me say that a lot, but it was in the golden age of video rentals, which was, probably for my family, it was probably mid 80s until, mid to late 90s, you know, maybe a little bit before the late 90s. But, that was the golden age for my family to rent movies. So we rented a lot of movies during that time period, and a lot of them were horror films, right? And I remember, like, I don't think my mom was too keen on it, but me and my dad and my brother, we really enjoyed it. And some people probably think, "Good Lord, Dana, why was your parents letting you watch this with all this nudity and Dr. Hill getting his head cut off?" Which I didn't even talk about Dr. Hill. Dr. Hill is like he's a very smarmy and he's a bad guy. He's a villain, but he gets his head cut off, gets reanimated, and he carries around this head. This is just a bonus, right? And so you have a head, almost giving head, basically, and that's as far as I'm going to go with it. You just gotta watch it to see. You've got a bunch of naked corpses running around that have been reanimated, and I realize that that's not something that a lot of parents will let their kids see. But my parents, um, through as I grew up, they knew what I could handle and what I couldn't handle. Okay. And so I got to watch a lot of horror movies that some other kids might not have watched, right? So I always have a lot of fun with Reanimator, and I have a specific fondness for it because it was something that I watched when I was a kid growing up. Um, and because of all those things, all those reasons, and I know some people are going to say, "Here she goes throwing this around again." But I'm going to give it 5 deadites out of 5. It's a horror, gore masterpiece to me. I absolutely love Reanimator. Reanimator is one that I can watch in the fall. It seems like a fall type movie to me, or a Halloween type of movie, but I can watch it anytime. In fact, I would like to go back and rewatch it here really soon. But that's Reanimator. This is the Arrow release too, by the way. Okay, so the next one, and I'm going to try to cover this up this time because I don't want to get canceled. Right, this is the Toolbox Murders, touted as the original exploitation classic. This is the 4K of it. It does look pretty good on the 4K. Stephen King actually gave a little blurb for this. Generates some genuinely scary moments, and that probably helped get people to watch it. It also has the tagline, "What he does to your nerves is almost as frightening as what he does to his victims." Blue Underground put out this little gem. Um, which also has the tagline, "Bit by bit by bit, he carved a nightmare." And this is directed by Dennis Donnelly, produced by Tony DiDio, and starring Cameron Mitchell, Pamela Ferdin, Wesley Ure, I love this movie. Yeah, it's sleazy. Yeah, it is an exploitation classic, in my opinion. You have you have a woman in the bathtub pleasuring herself in one scene, and then being chased naked and sudsy and all that stuff by a person in a ski mask with a nail gun. Okay. So, yeah, it is sleazy. It is exploitive, but is it fun? I have to say that about a lot of movies. Yes, it is fun. Very gritty, really like grindhouse level. So, you've got an apartment complex in Los Angeles where it appears a deranged handyman is going on a killing spree and savagely murdering immoral women with the tools of his trade. Things like claw hammers and screwdrivers and power drills, and even that aforementioned nail gun. Um, but that's just the beginning um of this epic, like they list on the back of here, epic of violence and depravity. It was vilified by critics, banned by the censors, and treasured by splatter fans worldwide. And agree with all that. Um, so yeah, I mean, there's not much more I can say about the plot. That is the plot. There is a little bit of a side plot concerning Pamela Ferdin's character, but I don't want to give too much away in case there are people watching this that have not seen it. And I just say watch it. Find a for free copy first, please, folks. Don't go out and buy this 4K or the Blu-ray just right off. Make your own decisions on that. I don't want to get somebody to spend a bunch of money and buy either one or both of these movies, or in fact any of the movies that I talk about on my streams and videos, without watching a for free version first. Because you may not feel the same way I do about the movie, right? So, the Toolbox Murders, basically, the title says it all. But you got to see it, if at all possible. See it, in a for free version. But because I love it so much, people are going to disagree, I know. But I'm going to give this one 5 deadites out of 5 as well, um, for a whole heck of a lot of reasons. Um, the top one being it's just so gritty and bloody and fun. Okay. I ain't gonna lie about that either. That's the reasons why I love it. So I guess that's all from me for today. So you got the live that I did at 2 p.m. Eastern time today, talking about It Just Doesn't Matter was the debut show of that. And I talked about starting your own YouTube channel. Okay. So check that out if you haven't checked it out yet. And I did, I'm doing the recording right now for Terror Time Tea, and got a couple of watch alongs coming up this weekend. Saturday, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, will be A Clockwork Orange, directed by Stanley Kubrick. Sunday's watch along, also starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, will be John Landis's An American Werewolf in London. So be sure to tune in for all of that, and much more coming up soon in the coming week. But I'm off like a dirty shirt. But I want to remind you, as I always do before I get off of here, is to be kind to one another and blaze that trail. Have a fantastic rest of your Friday, folks. And let's have a kick ass weekend. Okay. And I'm out of here, and I'll see everybody next time.